Good morning, everybody. It is time for your wake up call. Good morning. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about just about anything you want because it's Ask Me Anything. So if you're here, say hi, first of all. It's time for Ask Me Anything. Good morning. All right. So we've been doing this. This is our eighth episode. The wake up call has been happening. And it is been interesting to sit here and to chat with you about governance and to hear your questions and to talk about something that I'm very passionate about. I'm a governance geek and self-proclaimed governance geek. And bonjour Suzanne, comment ça va? J'espère que ça va bien. On commence aujourd'hui avec des questions, donc sentez-vous libre de poser vos questions. That was French for please ask me anything. I have questions prepared because I have had a lot of questions over the years. And I've also heard a lot of questions from clients or from people. I posted it on Instagram. I got some questions from there. So feel free to, if you're here in the chat, if you're here after on the rebroadcast, please ask questions anyway. If you're listening to this like months down the line, because I've been doing this for years or months, and you have a question, ask me. I'll get a notification. I'll answer it for you. This morning I'm having coffee. I am always having coffee in the morning. It is my staple, and yeah, I'm getting ready for this. So one of the questions I'm going to start right away. One of the questions that I get all the time is accountability and structure on what makes an organization follow through on their strategic plans or their strategic governance model, and what is the difference between one that does it and one that doesn't do it? And that's a very big question. It made me pause because it was grounded in a feeling of needing to know how that person in that organization could achieve results and success and feel like they were confidently achieving something and they were able to answer to the plans that they had created. And so I sat back and I thought, you know what the difference is implementation, is the monitoring of everything, is not only just making a strategic plan or having policies and procedures or having a very efficient bylaw as your fundamental foundational document, but never going to look at it, never evaluating it, never editing it, and most of all, never applying it and getting feedback on it to see if you're achieving what you said you would achieve. So if you're doing a strategic plan and you're in your strategic planning cycle, you should be reviewing this at the board or at your committee level, or even if you're a staff member within a nonprofit, you should know what your strategic goals are and how you're implementing those as a team. So that is really the difference. And some hot tips for you. These are like a couple strategies. The first of all, creation of the strategic plan and delegation to your CEO is super important. Asking for implementation plans is super important. Um, Scheduling a reporting structure or mechanism to make sure that you are creating a timeline when those results have to be back so that we can monitor and ensure success or readjust. Those are important things, and that will make a big difference in successful organizations, and not necessarily successful, but satisfaction when it comes to results that you're achieving and confidence that things are getting done based on strategic planning that you've done or policies that you've established or a bylaw that you have. So that's a little bit of a tidbit there for you, like when you want to make sure that things are getting established and done. I have a question in the chat here. As-tu une liste qui indique ce que la session d'orientation devrait contenir? Do you have a checklist of items to cover during the orientation session? So that is super important. Orientation. I think it's going to be a topic that we're going to make eventually. But quick tips on orientation. So yesterday we talked about monitoring. Suzanne, you had a question about monitoring or not monitoring, mentorship. Mentor. What creates a good mentor? And the answer to that is obviously somebody who has experience on that particular board. I wouldn't, I would want to make sure that they've experienced at least a cycle of the board or two or three, or they are like an experienced board member on that particular board so that they can answer questions because every board is different. So you wouldn't want to have somebody who's not been on that board particularly. A mentor would be able to go over the orientation documents that you're talking about, the bylaws, go over the board calendar, things like that. When we're talking, and so that is for mentorship. You want that person to be also patient and welcoming and a good guide for that board member. So that's answering your question from yesterday. Today, the question is a checklist for items to cover during orientation sessions. So your board is a new board, your board member is new. They will want to know, where they're going for meetings and how many meetings they're going to have to go to. First of all, that's like, first of all, I want to know what my time commitment is going to be. And then you can give them information like foundational documents like the bylaws and your strategic plan, policies, documents that they have to look over. Um, it's important that these new board members feel safe, feel secure, feel confident in that first time that they're going to sit there. It's going to take a while before they get accustomed to the information that you're sharing, but it's going to also be important that when they are sitting there, they feel like they can ask questions. And that orientation session should open up the floor to those questions. So it would be important to know also the risks, the financial implications, what their roles and responsibilities are, obviously, and to really grasp that because education at the board level, orientation level, is going to give you a sense of clarity. It's going to make you feel confident in your role and competent in your role. There's nothing worse than sitting at a board and feeling incompetent because you're not sure what's happening, right? They're talking about some kind of report or some kind of funding application or they're talking about a policy and you're not sure. Leave leave space for questions and for insecurities or not knowing things. That's super important for orientation for that first time, for those first timers, um you're also going to want to go over, like, so the more education that you can provide to them at the beginning, the more they're going to feel less confusion, more clarity, and more competency and more confidence at the board level. You're going to want to talk to them about who the director is, and you're going to want to present the other board members around the table. That's super important for somebody who's sitting there. A get to know you opportunity for people that are just arriving. And those things might seem trivial, but I have gotten to a board meeting for the first time and sat there and it's business as usual and you have to just listen and pay attention and hope, that you're going to kind of grasp what's happening. And having those initial meetings offline, and I say offline, but off like outside of meetings would be super important. Having a coffee date with the person before they get in, that mentor that they could have them meet offline somewhere, have a coffee, have an opportunity to discuss, and then they can arrive together or they can meet up and go to the meeting together. So the person's not getting lost. I've been at board meetings in big organizations or at committees where you're like not sure where you're going. Those are all things, and this is what I anchor my board experience in and my training in is emotions and feelings and being comfortable in the position that you are in when you are at the board table. And if you're not feeling like that, you're likely going to feel some um, disconnect and disengagement, and you're not going to feel compelled to come to these meetings. So if you feel welcome and everybody's happy at these board meetings, then it's going to help with board engagement. All right. One other question that I got, really interesting, is tech in governance. So technology, a platform, having your documents all on one platform can be fantastic. Having them sign into meetings on one platform can be fantastic. And I say that, but I also put in I have reservations when it comes to that. Because if you have a platform where board members can come and read their documentation, again, fantastic, but they are still not well trained and well informed and get to the meetings without having clicked in or logged in or whatnot or downloaded, or it causes conflicts every time they try to download or da da da. And the goal for them is to have an easier time at your board meeting and an easier time reading your documentation. And this platform is causing a lot of chaos and confusion. You're not ahead. So if you are implementing some kind of technology when it comes to boards, and I'm not talking about Zoom because that's a whole other level of complication sometimes, and AGMs through Zoom and all of that. I'm talking about like a platform, or it could be a Dropbox or Google Drive. Things like that can really put um, pressures on people who are not technically inclined, but also could cause some confusion. I'm also of the mindset that if you're trying to organize something that is not well comprehended in the first place, it's not going to help anybody. So make sure that they have orientation training, good education. They know what the documents they're reading are about. They know why they need to go get certain documents at what time during the year or during their meetings. Those things are all important. And make sure that that platform is easy, because there's nothing more frustrating. And I am the first to admit it. There's nothing more frustrating than going on a platform and it being complicated. All right. So it really is a turn off for me when the platform is complicated. All right. Another question that I got, why did I create the wake up call? And why do I call it the wake up call in the first place? The wake up call is like, hello, this is our wake up call because your governance model might be not working for you. Your board might be dysfunctional. You might not feel comfortable in your position. This is your wake up call to get informed and to get the training that you need and to get proper planning tools and techniques and accountability. We created this in a nod to coffee. Also, the Oasis Challenge is another whole um, world that I've created in another life. Um, so the wake up call is all related to that. So coming on regularly to talk to you about governance, about tools, about tips and tricks, and so on, but also to create this wake up call that not everybody sitting at the table, at the board table, is always feeling comfortable and always feeling like they know what they're doing. And if that's you, I've been there. Uh, then welcome. We're going to talk about governance. This is what we do here. So if this is something that you're interested in, uh, keep watching, because we're preparing this week. We're preparing the calendar for October, and it's all going to be based on the new model that I've prepared. And this new model that I've prepared is a doozy. So it's it's really interesting. It's very colorful and well, not here because this is a photocopy, but it's going to really explain and introduce the concepts of why boards fail and why people disengage and why we have problems recruiting and retaining board members and how people might be feeling at the board table. So I'm really excited about that because not a lot of people talk about that. You know, formal education and training in boards is super important. Governance training, becoming a pro director, I did that. You know, it's a great process. That's fascinating. Knowing your ins and outs, knowing your details, knowing your documents, very, very important. But it's the whole dynamics of the board I find that are very complex and very important to understand because it's not necessarily the details or the structure that are going to keep a board member feeling engaged. It's going to help because you're going to have proper training, you're going to have proper planning, you're going to have proper implementation, and you're going to have proper results coming in so that you can evaluate how you're doing. But it's all of the in between. It's all of the making sure people are satisfied with what they're doing, making sure people are confident and comfortable, all of those things that I've been talking about this morning. So, because if you this model here that I that we're that we've sorry that we've developed, there's like past the point of no return. There's like a place where people feel really disengaged and you can put in solutions to cure the disengagement or to bring those people back, and we've created those solutions so that you can bring them from feeling discomfort and uncomfortable at the board and unsure and not confident to bringing them back to feeling confident. So we're going to talk about all that, and you're getting a little sneak peek today about this model that I've developed, and I can't wait to share it because it's really going to make people think about why they need to have good exercises at the board, like training and good planning and good implementation. So I'm really proud of it. I'm really excited, and it's going to be revealed sooner than later. And if your organization is struggling with that, retention, recruitment, engagement, um, not having the tools necessary for your board, not feeling like your board is fully on the same level, like everybody's at the same level, please talk to me, send me an email, send me a message, go to my website. All my contacts are there or on social media. I am easily accessible. Please send me a message and I will try to diagnose what your board is going through. So thank you so much for being here today. If you're watching this on the rebroadcast, thanks for being there. I hope I answered some of the questions. We'll be doing this regularly, and please feel free to leave comments, and I will get back to those as soon as I can. Tomorrow we're talking about. Let me check my calendar. If you want the calendar, it's on my website. We're talking about what board you should be on. So this is going to be part 2 of the tool that I gave you last week. So what board should you be on? And last week we talked about what your competencies are and what kind of board member you might want to be. And now we're going to talk about what kind of boards you could be looking for and what you should be pinpointing when you're looking at those boards. All right. So if you have no more questions, I will go and I will talk to you soon, tomorrow.